Good morning, I am Charlie Pinkerton. I'm here at iParticle with my colleague Kelsey Johnson. And Kelsey is going to give us an update on what's going on with dairy in Canada. Kelsey, take it away.
So last week, of course, we talked about the new United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, or USMCA, or USMCA, or whatever you want to call it. And we talked about how there's been concessions around supply management, largely around dairy. There's been a few developments since then. So the first thing is that the dairy farmers are still very angry, and they have started protesting publicly their anger. Lawrence MacAulay, the agriculture minister, who's probably in one of the safest ridings in the country, went to make an announcement last week on Friday about rural roads and infrastructure, and he met up with 100 angry dairy farmers who forced his announcement to actually be turned into a town hall to talk about the concessions that are made. And during that conversation, there's video courtesy of The Guardian from Prince Edward Island that shows MacAulay saying that he will not vote against the USMCA agreement despite the dairy concessions. So the ag minister supports it, the dairy industry clearly doesn't. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see more anger and protests from the dairy community within the next few weeks, months, and in the lead up to the next election. Second, though, the United States, of course, released a version of the text the night that the deal was reached. Canada hasn't released their version of the text yet, and in order to get to the next step, you have to have a text that matches. But the Canadians are still working on their text, and apparently, I've been told from sources, there are errors in the US version of the text, and so they're now a negotiation happening between the Canadian negotiators and the American negotiators to get the US version to reflect what was actually agreed to at the table. The issue is around a section of an annex that has to do with dairy class changes, and apparently the United States would have to be consulted before we were to change our class system. The Canadians are saying that the wording doesn't reflect what we talked about.